Have you ever felt this quiet disappointment with yourself? Not loud, not dramatic, just that heavy feeling at the end of the day when you realize you knew exactly what you should have done and still didn't do it. You're not broken, you're not stupid, and you're not lacking information. What you're experiencing is something far more dangerous, a slow erosion of discipline. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small moments. One distraction, one delay, one excuse you quietly accept. And over time, you stop trusting yourself. Here's the truth most people avoid. A scattered mind is not the problem, it's the symptom. The real issue is a loss of inner order. This video isn't here to motivate you. Motivation fades. What you need is structure, control, self-command. Today, you'll face 8 brutal truths that strip away comfort, rebuild discipline, and sharpen your focus. Not so life feels easier, but so you become stronger than the chaos around you. Stay with me. 1. Comfort is slowly making you weak. No one tells you this directly, because it sounds cruel, but it's true. The more comfortable your life becomes, the weaker your discipline quietly grows. Comfort doesn't arrive like an enemy, it arrives like a reward. Sleep in a little longer. Skip the hard task today. Scroll instead of thinking, delay instead of deciding. Each choice feels harmless, even reasonable. But taken together, they train your mind to avoid resistance, and the mind that avoids resistance cannot hold focus. Here's what most people misunderstand. Focus is not built by trying harder. It's built by removing the need to escape. Every time you choose comfort over effort, your brain learns a lesson. This is how we survive discomfort. We run. Over time, the threshold for discomfort gets lower. What used to be easy now feels heavy. What used to take discipline now feels unbearable. That's how focus dies. Not in chaos, but in convenience. Think about the moments you were most disciplined in your life. They didn't happen when things were easy. They happened when you had no choice but to face difficulty. Pressure sharpened you. Resistance strengthened you. Discomfort gave you clarity. Comfort does the opposite. It softens the edges of your mind. It trains you to negotiate with yourself. And once you start negotiating, discipline is already gone. Here's the brutal truth. The mind that constantly seeks ease will never stay focused. Because focus requires staying with discomfort longer than your impulses want to. When the work feels boring, when the task feels heavy, when the moment demands effort instead of relief. This is where discipline is either built or betrayed. Not through grand gestures, but through small daily refusals to escape. You don't rebuild discipline by becoming extreme. You rebuild it by becoming intentional. One uncomfortable choice per day. That's it. Wake up when you don't want to. Finish the task you feel like postponing. Sit with silence instead of reaching for stimulation. Do the thing your mind tries to talk you out of. Not because it's heroic, but because it trains your nervous system to stay present under pressure. And presence is the foundation of focus. When you stop avoiding discomfort, something changes quietly inside you. You start trusting yourself again, because every hard choice you keep becomes evidence. I do what I say I will do. That trust is everything. It sharpens attention, it stabilizes thought, it restores inner authority. Discipline doesn't come from forcing yourself, it comes from proving, repeatedly, that discomfort doesn't control you. Remember this line. Let it sink in. Comfort feels good now. Weakness lasts forever. Choose one discomfort today, not tomorrow. Today. That's how focus begins to return. 2. Your focus isn't lost, it's being leaked. You don't wake up one day and suddenly lose focus. It doesn't disappear. It leaks, slowly, quietly, constantly. A message here, a request there, a thought you don't finish before moving on to the next. By the end of the day, you're exhausted. Not because you worked hard, but because your attention was pulled in too many directions. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Focus isn't destroyed by big distractions. It's drained by small, tolerated ones. Every time you allow an interruption, your mind learns that it doesn't need to stay with anything for long. Every time you say yes when you should say no, your attention fragments a little more, and over time, your ability to stay present weakens. Most people think focus is about effort, about pushing harder, about forcing concentration. It's not. Focus is about protection. The most focused people are not the most motivated. They are the most selective. They guard their time, they guard their energy, and most importantly, they guard access to themselves. Think about your day. How many people can reach you whenever they want? How many notifications decide when you stop thinking? How often do you abandon your own priorities to respond to someone else's urgency? Each of these moments is a leak, and enough leaks will sink even the strongest mind. Here's what hurts to admit. You are teaching people and devices how to treat your attention. If everything has access to you, nothing receives your full presence. Focus returns the moment you start closing doors. Not all at once, not dramatically, but deliberately. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer entry points, fewer conversations that lead nowhere, fewer commitments that dilute your energy, fewer digital habits that interrupt your thinking before it can deepen. Discipline begins the moment you stop explaining your boundaries. No apologies, no justifications, just quiet removal. Silence the notification, delay the response, finish the thought. When you protect your attention, your mind begins to settle. Thoughts become longer, decisions become clearer, work becomes deeper. And with that depth comes something you've been missing: control. Remember this. What you allow access to, you will eventually control you. Choose today where your attention is no longer available. That's not selfish. That's self-command. And self-command is the foundation of focus. 3. Discipline is built when no one is watching. There is a version of you that only exists when no one is around. No audience, no praise, no pressure. That version tells the truth about your discipline. Most people perform well when they're being observed. Deadlines sharpen them. Expectations push them forward. Consequences keep them in line. But remove the external pressure, and they drift. That's because external force can produce action, but it can never produce self-command. Discipline begins where supervision ends, when no one will notice if you quit early, when no one will call you out for skipping the hard part, when there's no reward except the quiet knowledge that you kept your word. This is where most people fail themselves. They confuse being productive with being disciplined. They mistake urgency for structure, and they rely on pressure instead of principle. But pressure is temporary. Silence is permanent. In silence, there is nothing to hide behind. No excuse feels convincing. No shortcut feels clean. You either do the work or you don't. And every time you choose not to, something breaks inside you, not dramatically, subtly. You trust yourself a little less. Your standards soften. Your focus weakens. Because the mind that knows it can escape will always look for a way out. True discipline isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post progress or seek validation. It shows up when no one is counting. That's why solitude is so uncomfortable for most people. It removes distraction, it removes performance, and it exposes the gap between who you say you are and what you actually do. But that discomfort is not a threat. It's a training ground. When you stay with yourself in silence, when you complete the task with no recognition, when you keep the promise no one else knows about, you build something rare. Internal authority, and internal authority changes everything. Your mind becomes quieter because it trusts you. Your focus becomes steadier because it's not waiting for permission. Your actions become deliberate instead of reactive. You stop needing someone to push you because you've learned to command yourself. And once that happens, discipline stops feeling like a force. It becomes identity. You don't ask whether you'll do the work. You simply do it, not because anyone is watching, but because you are. 4. Every emotional reaction costs. You control the moment you react emotionally. You hand your power away, not just to people, not just to situations, but to impulses you didn't choose. Anger pulls you out of the present. Frustration scatters your attention. Anxiety hijacks your focus before you even realize what happened. And once your emotions take the lead, discipline disappears. Most people think emotional reactions are harmless, that they just happen, that they're honest, human, unavoidable. They're wrong. Emotional reactions are habits, and every habit can either strengthen you or weaken you. Each time you react without pause, your mind learns something dangerous. I don't need to stay in control. I just respond. Over time, this erodes authority from the inside, because focus requires stillness, and stillness cannot exist in a reactive mind. A man who reacts to everything cannot concentrate on anything. Think about how often your day is dictated by emotion. A message irritates you, your attention is gone. A comment triggers you, your energy shifts. A minor setback frustrates you, and your discipline collapses for the rest of the day. Not because the event was powerful, but because you gave it access. Here's the truth most people never train themselves to accept. You don't lose control when something happens. You lose control when you react immediately. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. That space is small, quiet, almost invisible. But it is where discipline lives. When you pause instead of reacting, you reclaim authority. When you breathe instead of speaking, you regain clarity. When you choose instead of exploding, your focus stabilizes. This isn't suppression, it's mastery. You're not denying emotion, you're refusing to let it drive. The disciplined mind feels emotion without obeying it. And that difference changes everything. Your thoughts slow down, your decisions become cleaner. Your attention stops jumping from trigger to trigger. You stop wasting mental energy on things that don't deserve it. And slowly, something shifts. People sense your composure. Situations lose their grip on you. Distractions lose their urgency. Because nothing controls you unless you allow it to. Control doesn't come from being emotionless. It comes from being unmovable. Remember this: the one who can pause owns the moment, and the one who owns the moment controls his focus. Discipline deepens the moment you stop reacting and start deciding. 5. Motivation will abandon you when you need it. Most. If you've been waiting to feel ready, that's why discipline keeps failing you. Motivation is unpredictable. It rises when things are new. It fades when things get repetitive, difficult, or uncomfortable. And the moment the work matters most, motivation disappears. That's not a flaw. That's its nature. Most people build their lives on something that cannot be trusted. They act when they feel inspired. They stop when they don't. Over time, this trains the mind to associate action with emotion. No feeling, no movement. That's a dangerous dependency. Discipline begins when you break that link. The strongest people you know don't feel motivated most of the time. They feel tired. They feel resistance. They feel boredom. And they act anyway. Not because they're special, but because they stopped negotiating with their emotions. Negotiation is where discipline dies. Every internal debate teaches your mind that action is optional. Every maybe later weakens your authority. The disciplined mind doesn't ask how it feels. It asks what needs to be done, and then it moves. This is where most people misunderstand strength. They think discipline is force. It's not. It's agreement. You decide once, and then you stop revisiting the decision. No drama, no internal arguments, no waiting for the right mood. Just execution. Action first, emotion second. When you move without motivation, something powerful happens. Your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You become someone who follows through. And once that identity settles in, focus sharpens naturally. Because your mind no longer scans for excuses. It locks onto the task. Motivation didn't create that focus. Consistency did. Remember this truth. Motivation starts things. Discipline finishes them. If you want focus that lasts, stop asking how you feel. Decide who you are, then act like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where real discipline begins. 6. Distraction is not the problem. It's the escape. Most people think distraction is something that happens to them, something external, something they're a victim of. That belief keeps them weak. Distraction is not an accident. It's a decision, often made unconsciously. You don't reach for your phone because you're bored. You reach for it because something in front of you feels heavy, unclear, demanding. Distraction is the nervous system looking for relief. The moment a task requires real effort, focus, or responsibility, the mind looks for a way out, a quick hit of stimulation, a temporary escape from pressure. And each time you escape, you reinforce the habit. Your brain learns, when things get uncomfortable, we leave. Over time, this creates a dangerous pattern. The harder the task, the faster you avoid it. The more important the work, the more resistance you feel. That's why your focus collapses exactly where it matters most. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. What you call distraction is often avoidance in disguise. Avoidance of difficulty, avoidance of responsibility, avoidance of facing your own limits. But avoidance doesn't remove the weight, it delays it and multiplies it. The task doesn't disappear, it waits, and it grows heavier the longer you run. Discipline is not about eliminating distraction completely. That's unrealistic. It's about staying when your instinct tells you to escape, when the work feels dense, when progress feels slow, when there's no immediate reward. That's the exact moment focus is forged. You don't need to feel calm, you don't need to feel confident, you just need to remain. Sit with the discomfort, let the urge pass without obeying it. Finish one small piece of what you're avoiding. That single act rewires something deep. You teach your mind a new lesson. We stay. And once your mind learns that escape is no longer guaranteed, distraction loses its power. Focus returns, not because the world got quieter, but because you stopped running from pressure. Remember this, what you avoid today gains power over you tomorrow. Face it now, not all of it, just enough to prove you won't escape. That's how discipline tightens its grip. And that's how focus begins to hold. 7. Solitude is where discipline is forged. Most people are afraid of being alone with themselves, not because they hate silence, but because silence removes distraction, and without distraction, there's nowhere to hide. Noise keeps you busy, conversation keeps you occupied, constant input keeps you from noticing what's missing. But discipline doesn't grow in noise, it grows in space. Solitude forces you to confront yourself without filters. No entertainment to soften the edges. No opinions to lean on. No one else to blame. Just you and the truth of how you live. That's why solitude feels uncomfortable at first. Your mind reaches for stimulation. Your body looks for movement. Your thoughts become restless. This discomfort is not a problem. It's the signal that training has begun. In solitude, your excuses lose their strength. Your priorities become clearer. Your attention stops being borrowed and starts becoming yours again. You begin to notice how scattered your thoughts have been. How often do you avoid stillness? How rarely you stay with one idea long enough to finish it, and slowly, something shifts. Silence sharpens your awareness. It reveals patterns you couldn't see before. It exposes the habits that weaken you and the discipline you've been avoiding. The disciplined mind is not built by constant stimulation. It's built by learning to remain present without external support. This is where most people quit. They label solitude as loneliness. They escape back into noise. But solitude isn't isolation. It's preparation. It's where you rebuild alignment between thought and action, where decisions stop being reactive, where focus deepens without effort. Even a short period of intentional solitude changes how you operate. Your mind becomes less impulsive. Your attention becomes steadier. Your actions become more deliberate. Because when you can sit with yourself in silence, you stop needing the world to distract you. And that independence is power. Remember this: a mind that can stand alone cannot be controlled. Give yourself space each day, not to think more, but to listen better. That's where discipline matures. Most people don't actually fear being alone. They fear what shows up when everything goes quiet. Because when the noise fades, there's nothing left to distract you from yourself. No scrolling to numb the tension. No conversations to dilute responsibility. No movement to escape reflection. Just you, your habits, your unfinished promises. That's why solitude feels uncomfortable at first. Your mind searches for stimulation the way a restless body searches for air. You feel the urge to check something, to reach for someone, to break the silence before it exposes too much. But that urge is not weakness, it's conditioning. You've trained your nervous system to depend on noise, to borrow energy from the outside instead of generating it from within. And a man who cannot stand alone cannot command himself. Discipline does not grow in crowds. It does not mature in constant conversation. It is forged in moments where there is no one to impress and no one to blame. In solitude, there is nowhere to outsource responsibility. You can't hide behind urgency. You can't confuse movement with progress. You either face the work or you face yourself. This is where alignment is built. When you sit in silence long enough, patterns emerge. You notice how quickly your mind tries to escape effort, how often you avoid depth, how rarely you stay with one thought long enough to complete it. That awareness is painful, but it's necessary. Because discipline begins with honesty. Solitude strips away illusion. It reveals whether your values are real or just spoken, whether your standards exist only when others are watching. This is why solitude feels heavy before it feels empowering. You are shedding dependence, and dependence always resists being removed. But if you stay, if you don't flee back into noise, something shifts. Your thoughts slow down. Your attention becomes less reactive. Your decisions feel grounded instead of impulsive. You stop needing constant input to function. You stop seeking validation to act. You stop requiring pressure to move. That's freedom. Not freedom from people, but freedom from reliance. A disciplined mind does not need stimulation to remain steady. It generates its own structure. Even 30 minutes of intentional solitude each day rewires you. No phone, no music, no distraction. Just presence. In that space, discipline stops feeling forced. It starts feeling natural. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is where authority returns. Remember this: a man who can remain alone with his thoughts cannot be controlled by the world. Give yourself solitude, not as escape, but as training. That's where discipline hardens. 8. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. At some point, you have to face this quietly uncomfortable truth. Your life is not shaped by what you want, it's shaped by who you believe you are. Goals are intentions, identity is gravity. You can set ambitious plans, you can promise yourself change, you can visualize a better version of your life. But when pressure appears, you don't rise to those goals. You fall back to your default identity. If, deep down, you see yourself as undisciplined, you will eventually act that way, no matter how strong your plans were. That's why focus collapses under stress. That's why discipline fades when things get hard. Your behavior is always loyal to your self-image. Most people try to change their actions without changing their identity. They try to act disciplined while still believing they're inconsistent. They try to focus harder while seeing themselves as easily distracted. That internal conflict never lasts. Discipline becomes natural only when it aligns with who you think you are. The moment you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, your behavior begins to shift quietly, automatically. You stop negotiating, you stop debating, you stop asking for permission, because disciplined action no longer feels like effort. It feels like alignment. This is where real focus is born. Not from force, not from pressure, but from consistency between identity and action. You don't need to overhaul your life to change your identity. You need evidence. Small, repeated actions that prove something to yourself. Keeping a promise when it would be easy to break it. Finishing a task even when no one would notice if you quit. Showing up when motivation is absent. Each time you do this, you cast a vote for a new identity. I am someone who does what he says. I am someone who stays present. I am someone who doesn't escape. Over time, these votes accumulate, and eventually, the old identity loses its authority. Focus stops being fragile. Discipline stops being forced. Because you're no longer trying to become disciplined, you are disciplined. Remember this final truth. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. Choose that identity carefully. Then prove it quietly, consistently, every day. If there's one thing to understand after everything you've heard, it's this. Discipline was never taken from you. You slowly handed it away. Not through failure, not through weakness, but through small moments of avoidance, comfort, and reaction that seemed harmless at the time. And the good news is this. What was given away can be taken back. Not all at once, not dramatically, but deliberately. Focus doesn't return because the world becomes quieter. It returns when you become stronger than the noise. Discipline isn't about becoming rigid or extreme. It's about restoring inner order, about doing what needs to be done, especially when no one is watching, when motivation is gone, and when escape feels easier than effort. You've seen the pattern now. Comfort weakens focus. Leaked attention erodes control. Reaction steals authority. Avoidance disguises itself as distraction. And without solitude, discipline never matures. These are not ideas to admire. They are truths to live by. You don't need to change your entire life tonight. You need to change one decision, one moment where you don't escape, one task you finish without negotiation, one promise you keep simply because you said you would. That's how self-trust is rebuilt. And self-trust is the foundation of discipline. No one is coming to save you. No system, no motivation, no external pressure. And that's not a burden, it's freedom. Because the moment you stop waiting to be pushed, you realize you've always had the authority to command yourself. So choose one truth from this video. Not all 8, just one. Live it today. And remember this as you move forward. Discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you unbreakable. That's how focus returns. And that's how control becomes yours again.